Okay, you guys, I am back. I hope that you're back. Thank you guys for those of you that have been on the show on an ongoing basis. Thank you so much. I am trying to get in touch with our next guest, who has been a good friend of mine. She was actually my friend at the beginning of 2012. I interviewed her and she's like, "You're waking up." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, "No, that's so awesome and great. And I'm really here to help you with the ascension. I'm here to help wake you up." And we've spent a lot of times on other calls, just outside talking about what's going on, the shifts that were happening, what we're creating. She had this flight school that she does. And I'm hoping that we can, if we don't get her now in the next 5 or 6 minutes, that we will get her to come back next week. So if you haven't noticed, there's 2 or 3 people that we missed this week. Oh, there she is. Okay. Cool. So, well, I just introduced you and kind of told them how we met and when we met and how I was just going through the ascension process, like right from the beginning. And uh, we can kind of, I'm just going to put you up and we'll go from there. Great. Oh my gosh, great to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys meet Jennifer Hough. She is I mentioned earlier, but if you just hopped back on, hi everyone, and if you want to come on and just say hi, I love seeing your comments. She told me in 2012, like right at the beginning of the year, she's like, "You're waking up," and I was kind of like, "Yeah, I know." And she runs a business called Wide Awakening, and I began to learn. And so, Jennifer, why don't you hop in to give us a little bit about your background and tell us, what this whole world is doing now and how we can upgrade and really, we just talked about embodying our genius zone. So let's just take it further.
Yeah. Hey, that's fun. Embodying
Yeah,
your genius.
it
So,
is fun.
well, it's interesting. I was just listening to something I used to listen to way back when. David Dieta was on my. He's so great at talking about men and women and different operating systems. And I think, and by the way, he's great. So you should read his books. Fabulous. But every minute of every day, I'm more clear and more clear and more clear that the shift we're going from is this. Some people put it in the way from surviving to thriving, but it's so commonplace now that people are like, oh yeah, surviving to thriving, but nobody actually knows what that means. And it's part of our awakening. And from the position of the way that the piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth that I'm sure the universe gifted me to be, just like everybody listening right now is a gift. And um, and as we become more and more, as we become integrated with our gift, we actually require a different operating system. You see, because when we start out, we're wide open when we're little. We're like, let's create, let's go. What can I do with these Legos? Like, I'll play with anyone. I'm not going to disclude, I don't care what color, creed, whatever. I don't know any of that. I don't care. If you can create with me, we're on. We're in. Let's go. Right? But as adults, we got taught something different, a new operating system. And the new operating system is no, no, no. Resources are limited. Love is limited. Connection is limited. There's limited amount of money for sure. There's limited amount of money. And if all that is true, because of course, I'm sure your listeners and the people that follow me all know already that your reality, your biology, and what you are open to is a direct it is exactly related to the way we see the world. So if the way we see the world is, guess what, everything is limited, then it's a dog eat dog world to you. Everything will appear like dog eat dog. You will be in survival. Your body will be in survival. Your blood vessels will be restricted. You'll have more cortisol in your body. You'll manifest more disease. That is survival. But a child is not in survival. They're in thriving. As an adult, however, we're going to take that sort of marriage of that childhood way of being into the land of this infrastructure of rules and guidelines and ways that we get along on the planet, because there's not much of that when we're little. But when we get grown up, there's all these rules and guidelines and legal things and all that kind of stuff. So how do you be childlike when there's so many rules and you don't feel free? Well, the answer to that question is you learn how to flow with all of consciousness, because consciousness is consciousness is in everything, is of everything. So life is infused in everything and has an awareness of every rule, every guideline, every should, must, and have to. Doesn't really care a lot about people's judgment. So waking up is really downloading an operating system. If you think of a computer, it's like downloading an operating system whereby you upgrade to being able to go direct with consciousness, where the awareness of all the ins and outs of being on Earth are present. And downloading the, let's say, superpowers associated with being able to be above the clouds looking down, rather than underneath the clouds looking up. And when we're above the clouds looking down, we're like, wow, look at all the possibility. I can hear, infinite wisdom coming through me. Not only do I hear it, it's become me. I'm not even interested in hearing it anymore. I'm interested in solely acting from it. And all of a sudden we become a walking meditation. And as a walking meditation, everything is done in full presence. So does this all make sense, Jenna?
Yeah, I think we've already been here.
Yeah.
It's like, take us in and upgrade our system. We're ready.
Yeah. So to upgrade the system really requires, to upgrade the system, what it requires is the before and after. We have to get our brain in that mode first. So to get in that mode, it basically goes from, it requires third entity thinking. So this is what it looks like. I'm in a relationship. I need you to respect my boundaries, me to have boundaries. I'm going to ask for stuff. You get to respond. You're going to ask for stuff. I get to respond. There's that little dance. In the third entity thinking, it's you really start asking, what would love do? What would the love of humanity do? What would the love of all of creation do? Right? And so we live in that question in our relationships. So now take an aspect of your life right now. The best way to get the upgrades is to take the deepest question a human being can ask, which is, what would love do if love was an entity? And love is a third entity created when you get together with an idea, when you get together with your gift, when you get together with Jenna Blackert, when you get together with a friend. The third entity is a living, breathing entity that is not polarized. It's not a polarity. It is where consciousness lives. So asking that question puts you into the operating system. Do you get what I'm saying? So when you ask a powerful question, instead of intellectually or even spiritually trying to download tools, the direct route, because I'm not that interested in, the human being in us wants to understand every nuance. You actually don't need to understand every nuance. The direct route is actually to ask yourself a question that gets you in the operating system and then operate from that question. So the question is, what would love do? So everyone think right now of a part of your life that appears to be not in flow, or it appears to be maybe suboptimal, or it appears to be, and I'll give you an example in my life. In my relationship before coming here for the retreat we just did, in my relationship, I noticed that I unconsciously started collecting evidence for a couple of things that were wrong, that weren't quite right. Where it's like, that is unacceptable to me. You will never find the solution, and that is broken and we need to fix it. You will only find the solution, truly, I promise you, in a third entity called what would love do? What is love asking for here? And love never says, Janet, this is broken and it needs fixing. Ever. Love says, how can you raise the frequency? How can you vision this up? How can you create a third entity that both of you can be enrolled in? How can you raise your frequency and be so happy that you're not codependent with another? How can you break free of the let's say the entanglement that you've gotten yourself into, and actually be fully responsible for your own wide open heart and happiness? Now, here's the problem with that way of thinking. It's a little bit dangerous when you're in the new operating system. When you ask, what would love do? Not everybody wants to go. Have you experienced this? So not everybody wants to go. So as we're in the issue that you have, and let's say I'm going to go into the issue that I have right now, we're all going to go together. And we stand in that issue together. Ask the question, what would love do? Another way of saying it is, the third entity that God created when I moved into this house, when I got this job, when I married this person, when I divorced this person, the possibility that God created, the gift that was being birthed when that happened. Just remember it for a minute. What was the possibility? What was the dream that was dreaming you in that moment? What do you remember being dreamed into? You got so excited. You saw something, you felt something in your cells. So that's the second thing about the new operating system. You don't think things, you feel things. In the new operating system, it's all about getting present to what 30 to 75 trillion cells are saying. It's a totally different language. Can we upgrade to that place right now? No. You can't do it in an instant. But you can ask what love would do. You could ask what that third entity that got birthed, if you can put yourself back to the third entity space, that place, that feeling, that essence within you that was present when you actually had the original idea. There was a feeling, a future potential that got birthed, and you knew it. You could feel it. That's why you were excited. Then your mind started to collect evidence. We don't care about that evidence anymore. What we care about is what the third entity would do. If you want to make a shift, and that's all this conversation, there's so much to talk about. If you want to make a shift from inside of the new operating system, it will cause quantum results. But you have to be a relentless champion of asking the question, what would that third entity that got birthed from your passion, your love, your excitement, what would it ask you to do? And by being a relentless champion of doing that, what happens is you exercise the muscle of being in the new operating system. So for those of you that just want to go, like, I don't want to do the old stuff anymore. I don't want to feel like crap. I don't want to go again. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just want to do it. You know, I'm so over it, like that. You, you, you just leaping. This question will cause you to just leap into the new operating system. But the instant you forget, you'll feel and I'm sure, Jeneth, you've experienced this, where the instant you forget when you've been in the new operating system and then you jump out of into another operating system, the old one, you feel 100 times worse than you did before, which is great because it's just a redirect. Finally, I'm going to tell you guys a story. You know, someone said recently, it's just so good. It's just so good. It's like when do you know, so Jeneth, I'm going to ask you a question and see if you can answer this. Okay, what percentage of the time do you think when a rocket ship is going to the moon, what percentage of the time do you think it's on target to the moon?
10?
No, it's actually 3.
Wow.
So 3% of the time when a rocket is going to the moon, thank you, Jerry, for this story, because she lives in Florida, is the rocket on track. 3%. The rest of the entire time is a course correct. So imagine how many times a day you have to ask yourself, what would the third entity say? You know, until it becomes embodied. Right?
I think that's the key, right?
Yes.
It's well, I mean, all of these are keys that open up other doors, but when it comes back down to it, the question is, it's that energy of that relentless original dream.
Exactly.
And embodying that.
Yes, and one might ask, well, like the question that begs itself when you say that is, what do you mean by embodiment? It's like, that's nice, you said embody that. How the frig do I embody that, right? Because that's a question people have.
Yeah.
Right? And which is the whole purpose of any work that we do, is how do you embody this? Because it isn't until you don't need to ask the question anymore. You become the embodiment. That's how you know you're in the new operating system. Your choices would never come from what makes me most comfortable, what makes me feel the best, what makes me it's not about you anymore. It's about the dream that's dreaming you. You understand yourself as an expression of greater consciousness. It's not really interested in being lived by comfortability. You're not really interested anymore in being being lived by, I don't know, getting by. You know, a little bit of love is enough. So he yells at me sometimes, no big deal. It's like you're not really interested in being lived by that. It's too late. You already know that something else is possible. So now you're aware that there's a dream in every single area of your life that is dreaming you. And you start to understand that in love, there's a dream that's dreaming you. And in my case, as I got more and more press, like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot this, and I teach it. But that's my scariest area of living. Everywhere else, no problem. Like, you ask anyone, I'm up for whatever. I love going into what's dreaming me, and have embodiment in so many areas of my life. But in that area, I had some really scary things happen to me. So there's like some protective mechanisms that are deep, deep in my bones. And slowly but surely, they're just coming out because the dream that's dreaming me is so compelling. It's like, oh my God, there's a state of magic that happens when you experience that much love with someone. There's a playfulness, there's a silliness, there's a goofiness, there's a sense of humor about everything. And Adam and I definitely have played with that. But as soon as, magnetics are a wonderful thing. As soon as you start playing with the magnetics of other than the third entity. So I'm going to be very vulnerable here and give you what I was playing with. The question I was living into is, what would make me feel the safest? Well, hate to tell you, the most brave and courageous thing you're going to do is be in a relationship. because these days relationships are all about what's the unknown love that gets to keep deepening and revealing itself. Your two playmates in the new operating system, your two playmates on an adventure, right? So you're not the man and the woman, or the woman and the woman, or the man and man. It doesn't matter, right? What you are is you're two people who chose to come together, who have the perfect combination of whatever it is to go on an adventure down the wormhole of what's never been discovered before about love. I call it a sniggly snoo. I don't. We invented it in one of my programs, this word sniggly snoo. It basically means not a relationship anything like any other relationship that's ever happened that I get to invent, or you get to invent, or you get to invent together, going down the wormhole. Don't ask me the spelling, probably too much. So you get what I'm saying? So I forgot about the sniggly snoo, and I got caught up in the world's definition, i.e. this man should make me feel safe. And I'm not feeling safe. Now what's guiding my relationship is whatever makes me feel safe, which totally puts him in jail. Right? When you're two adventurers going down the wormhole. So now you've just constricted the original flow, which is totally expansive of the entire relationship. I hope this is helping people. You're really looking at the original dream of that relationship. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So
I want to play with it in a different way, if that's we just got off a call with like things, where people are having body aches or ailments or things like that. So, I kind of went back to the question, and went in my body. It's like, what would love do? Right. And some shifts happen. So, I wanted to kind of take it down the rabbit hole a little bit to look at, what about this is dreaming, or dreaming its dream.
Right.
I just kind of wanted to play with it in all aspects of the world. We don't have to go through body ailments, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to play with it in every area of our life and how, that might manifest, and maybe there's more questions or rabbit holes to go down.
Sure. Well, what's really interesting is when I was, I ran one of the largest holistic nutrition practices in North America, for sure the biggest one in Canada. And when I was doing that, one of the things that happened, it was seriously very, very interesting, because I had never looked at our bodies that way. And in the new operating system, how we look at, is it okay to talk about how we look at the new biology?
Yes. Yes.
So in the new operating system for humanity, the way we look at our bodies, the way we have been looking at our bodies, is that they're broken and they need fixing. So we start getting symptoms and we try to fix them, as you know. In the new operating system, what we do is we look at everything that happens in your body as a communication. It's just a communication. What is it? A course correct. So imagine you're going to the moon, you're off track a little bit, and it's a course correct. It's just, and the response to any symptom, and please everybody breathe for a second as you're listening to this, whether you're doing it on recording or right now. Just breathe for a second. Because there's probably someone listening right now who has cancer, or maybe they have something, I just talked to a friend this morning who has something really horrible going on in her spine. And for me to say it's just a course correct, it's like, but it truly is. Everything is happening for us. How can I say that? And how can we build a bridge when you've got a really horrible symptom communicating to you and you don't really want to hear that it's happening for you, right? How do we build a bridge to the idea that it's actually communicating something? This is how. If we were really honest with ourselves, you can probably see there are areas of your life where you stopped asking the question and answering the question, what would love do? Now, why does that matter? So keep that concept. Let's just keep it off to the left here. Now let's go over to the right for a second and talk about your body, and then we're going to bring these two conversations back together. Over on the right is between 30 and 75 trillion cells, give or take, right? Trillion. If it was 75 trillion cells, that's about 10,000 times the number of people that exist on the planet. So there are 10,000 times the number of people that exist on the planet, number of living individual communicators in your body, these little cells. Those cells are communicating with each other in total harmony. In fact, they exemplify how human beings can actually commune with each other. They're constantly course correcting. But before you got here, did you know that those 75 trillion living entities actually decided that they would be the house for your body in 3D? Just think about it, how much love that takes. I love the expansion of creation so much, and I want to go on the ride so much, and a very specific ride, such that that spirit and that trajectory of that soul that's lived however many hundreds of lives, with its forward motion, that it's going to has the potential to create this, that, and the other thing. And those 75 trillion cells all immediately agree that you're the one. With all the ups and downs. Now, what did they agree to over here on the right? What they agreed to is they agreed to love you enough that when you got off course to the moon, they would give you a little shout out and let you know a course correct is up for really taking a look at. And the way to get your attention when you're not answering the question, how much love can I emanate right now? It doesn't have to be for another. It doesn't have to be for the project. It could be for yourself. It could be for getting sleep. It could be for anything. But when you stop asking that question, when you stop being on purpose, when you stop being on the trajectory that all of consciousness saw would be the most expansive, delicious, awesome for you, your body promised it loved you enough to be the biggest pain in your butt ever. It could literally be a pain in your butt. So let's not complicate this. I mean, we talk, in our work, we talk about all sorts of complicated things like multidimensional DNA. You could get lost in all of that. When in reality, we can talk about very simple concepts as well that anyone could follow, which is what's dreaming you. And there's the big question that your body came forward for. So now let's go back to what was on the left. What was on the left is, here you are, maybe with a serious health issue. I've had a little tumor in my left ovary, So the concept of being in the new operating system, of truly waking up, is best embodied when you're in it, rather than talking about it. So in a state of embodiment, I don't get scared of the tumor. I get curious about it, because if it's happening for me, all the answers are right there. My body's got it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be a North American or a first world country person. I'm going to do it all by myself. I'm going to ask every freaking person I know, every earth angel I know that might have information about how to talk to that body piece. Not that it's broken. And if I'm talking, I'm giving you really practical stuff here, Jenna, because I want people to know exactly what this looks like in real life. It looks like talking to my friend who talks to cells, somebody who talks to animals, someone who talks to all these earth angels. One of the other things in the new operating system is we don't do it alone. Hence, yay for this, right? Yay for what you're doing right now. It's like we're no longer alone. We're doing it as a community. We're waking up together. So I went out to my community. I said, help. I think I know what it's saying, like maybe 30% of it, but I don't know the other 70%. And I want to be directed properly. And instead of being scared, and I'm broken, I need fixing, like I said earlier, the new operating system, nothing is ever broken. It's never broken. I'm not broken. It's like I've been doing, it's not about the symptom. I've been doing something in my life, and I promise you, actually, even this is even more vulnerable. Here in Mexico, we've been here for the last 2 weeks doing a big workshop, at the end of what we do in flight school. And part of this little issue that I've had has been around I never realized the depths to which I gave my power away in past relationships to men. I grew up with three sisters, one who passed away when she was young. My mother in the house, my dad was working his butt off, and my dog was a girl. So I didn't understand men. So I gave my mother, kind of lifted my father up on a pedestal. So that's what I did. And I didn't realize the extent to which I was still doing it. I mean, way less than I used to. But this is another thing in the new operating system, you move fast. So if you move fast, things 10 years ago that used to take you 2 weeks to move through, it takes like 5 minutes to move through. You notice this? So in the new operating system, it's fast. That's good, but it's not so good if you don't listen when your body is talking. And so presence is called for, and the presence to the question, what would love do? What are you being dreamed by right now? And what would that dream request of you? Not your safety, not your comfort, not what you think you should do, not what that guy who wrote the book, who wrote the 10 steps, go back, I'm in step 3, it's step 4. What would the dream ask you to do? And so what the dream was asking me to do is take the ways that I would pussyfoot around making requests for my life, my well-being, my happiness, my dream going forward, and make sure I request them instead of pussyfooting around them so that my dear husband wouldn't get them, and not understanding the male operating system, hence listening to David Dieta again. And that was my answer to what would love do. The love for my husband would understand the male operating system better, so I would stop superimposing things I was unconscious about on my husband. So this is what it looks like to live in the new operating system, this in my life. And I want everyone out there to know what it looks like to be in that awakened state. Or in some areas of your life, they'll still be on the way to being in that awakened state. Right? And what that means is, let me give you an area of my life. In my business, in what I do, and expressing my gifts into the world, I literally have embodied the gift that I am. It just is who I am. It's what I love. I can't help myself. I do it in the grocery store. I'm doing it everywhere. That I'm being that everywhere. I can't help myself. It's just an is. And that's because I've done it so much and been answering the question, what would love do, so much that I don't care if someone is upset in a workshop. What would love do? You build a bridge instantly. Instantly. And you've done it so often at this point that it's just a part of your beingness. It's like someone who's practiced playing the violin so much that they can wake up in the morning, pick up the violin, and play a concerto. Right? So,
Actually, can I ask you a question about it in upgrading with a child?
Yeah, please. Let's do an example.
I have a 13-year-old.
Okay.
And for those of you guys that haven't heard yet, and so basically this morning she was a little afraid to go to school because there's this girl like threatening to fight her because Julia talked with that other girl's boyfriend. And I was like trying to strategize with her and say, well, what other friends are you with that you could walk to class with? Because basically she goes down this corridor and this girl comes right up to her and like wants to attack her for talking to her boyfriend. And so even when you're like, what what would love do? I'm like, so I've told her, I said, why don't you go, I'm curious or something that like totally trips her up, like drop your defenses. And she's like, because she'll hit me, so.
I can tell you right now, it usually what love would do is so obvious that we don't do it because we're so in fear. It's very hard to get the answer to the question in the new operating system, my love, when you're, and especially for a 13-year-old because you're still finding your identity. It's hard to get the question. I'm just getting something. So there's a little bit of Abraham coming through. So it's like this. The answer to that question can only be, it's really an Einstein answer, right? It's like to get the answer to that problem, you need to be in a different brain. You need to be in a different vibration. So in order to be on the radio station where the solution would come, she's got to work. Always the first step is get yourself to the vibration of the solution you would love. So the first step is not go to school scared.
Right. Well, I told her that I got that.
Yeah, right. And then,
yeah.
Right. And then the next step is you said, well, one thing that would make you less scared is going to school with friends, but that is not going to change it. She's going to walk around scared all day, and she's going to run into that girl all day and have to duck into bathrooms because she's scared. The magnetics of the fear are going to have her show up all day long around every corner. It's just
that's like, exactly what's going on.
Right, yeah, exactly. So she's got to get into that zone consistently. But the thing that's being asked is to get to the place where she could walk up to her and have consciousness, have the universe, have particles of physics, arrange it so that it's a perfect situation where nobody else is around. Because if other people are around, she'll have to save face, that girl.
Mm-hmm.
But if nobody else is around and they run into each other, say they're the only two in the bathroom,
right?
Your daughter gets to say, it's your daughter, right?
Right.
Yeah, your daughter gets to say, what's the other girl's first name?
It's something with an A. I hadn't ever heard it. I asked her.
Let's say Anna. Anne, listen, Anne, I am so sorry. You're so right. I shouldn't have been talking to your boyfriend like that. I just want to tell you how much I apologize. It's no wonder you're angry. I completely understand it. And I want you to know it was also innocent, but I'm really, really sorry. It will blow her away.
Yeah. No, we do in Access this thing where, to drop their defenses, like, you're right, I'm wrong. You're right, I'm wrong. And except when she says it, it comes across like, you're right.
Can I give you a different line for a 13-year-old?
Okay.
I totally understand why you feel that way.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody else, I addressed it on another call in a different way. And somebody else said, ask her about her feelings. And, I'm not really sure that right?
That won't work.
Okay. I was like, I'm not really sure because she's kind of like, I'm mad.
Yeah. It's like, no, it would be more like,
I'm mad. Yeah.
What she wants is she wants to be seen and understood. And right now in their relationship, she does not feel seen and understood. She feels completely misunderstood and disrespected. So it's like, you just address her where it's at. I totally get how you would feel that way. I was thinking about it last night, and I was trying to get over there with you, and I'm like, I so get it. I get it. I completely, that's another way to say it. I really do get it.
I get it. I'm sorry.
I really get it, and I'm so sorry. And
I love that. Thank you for that. Oh my God, that's huge.
But listen, that is from years of experience in answering the question, what would love do? Right? What would love do? What would love want? What would love between the two of us want?
Right, right. Well, that would be a kindness. That would be a love.
It would, because
I'm sure when I tell her to do that, she'll kind of go, I can't. But you know what? I think I'm going to try to give it out there and push, Like, give it a shot.
Well, here's the thing. The way to get yourself, okay, so here, it's all about building bridges, Jenith. It is all about building bridges. So listen to how you do this. You say to her, sweetie pie, how can we get up to the frequency, to the feeling place where you could actually feel at least like 25% confident that you could do it. All you need is
Okay.
25%. So
Uh-huh.
what you do is you just role play it. You
Uh-huh.
be the other girl and you get into exactly how she feels. And once you say a couple of the things that your daughter could anticipate that she might say, what will happen is your daughter will go, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. And have you ever done a family constellation?
Oh, yeah, years ago.
Hey,
Yeah.
remember back to family constellation, kind of pull one of those kind of incidents where you're literally being that girl and your daughter is being herself. Have the
Right, right,
conversation.
right.
And all you need is 25. She just needs to know that 25% of her could do it. And she'll be able to get herself to 100%.
Uh-huh.
So, and the incident will happen. Sometimes vibrationally, just by doing it like 10 times with you,
Yeah.
vibration will already be released with that girl. Something else will happen and it will completely diffuse the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I had her role play on something else. I can't remember what the topic was once, and it worked, right? So
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe role playing and get her to practice with things. Oh, it was about like this friend was like begging to spend the night
Yeah.
and having her parents call me and ask, and I was like, and she couldn't really get up the courage to tell her friend no.
Right.
So we were going to be stuck with her.
Right. Right.
I was like, here, you can do this.
Well, you know what's so cool, Janet? Even before I got online with you, because I was late, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I'm like, I don't even want to take the time to text her to tell her that it's like I just want to fix it, right? So I'm
Right.
like, okay, I'm just gonna go to another part of this hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I just went to another part and I'm like, I'll just
Fine.
get on. It's good. So I had to build a bridge with it. Everything is about building bridges. If you can be a master bridge builder, the triggers that you have that are around course correcting, you hardly ever go off course. Like the
Right.
course corrections happen so quickly. So for everybody, and think about a 13-year-old, oh my God, right? They're
Right.
course correct, like, oh my God, they need someone else to course correct a lot of the time because they haven't had enough experience. So
Yeah.
think about this. Everybody, not just Jeneth and I, think about it as you're listening to this, you guys. What are the things that take you most off course? That's where you need a community. Building bridges back to on courseness is the paramount skill to living an awakened life. It is the key. It's not, you might think, well, why would I need to bridge build if I just embodied my own awakening? I wouldn't need to build bridges. I'd just like know what I know, right? I'd just be this genius rock star.
Yeah.
Because, my lovely beings, the reason you become a master bridge builder, that's why waking up like this is not a good idea. Because the reason you become a master bridge builder is because you're going to have a 13-year-old, or you're going to have a 2-year-old, or you already have a 20-year-old that's in big trouble, or you have girlfriends that are going through a hard time, or a couple that's not doing well, or whatever, and you're going to have built the bridges, or maybe you teach courses already. You know, when you're teaching courses, one of the things people become really good at when you do programs is you become a master bridge builder. What are you doing in the world of the new operating system?
Mm-hmm.
You're literally assisting someone to course correct more quickly for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
not carrying them, because
Right.
someone in the new operating system is not a guru. There are zero gurus in the new operating system. That's why
Right.
Sai Baba said, "I'm leaving this planet," so that more people can come forth to be their own guru. We don't need each other to be on a pedestal. There is no more time for gurus, but we do need each other to build bridges in our own life, because then we become the living alchemical ability to go from there to here. We become the living code. We emanate out of our telomeres in our cells, the codes, the physics, the biophotons of the very bridge, if we love other people, the very bridge we wish them to have.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's through our living our life that we're emanating those bridges. That is what would love do. What would love do? Become the bridge yourself.
Right. No, agreed. Yeah.
Right? So your life becomes the answer to what would love do. Right? And so by you, even look at you, Jenna, you're the one asking the question about your 13-year-old building a bridge because there's a part of you that's like, okay, I know I'm a great mom, but what would love do in this case? Love would ask a friend, how do I do this? So you did. And then you're going to tell your daughter, and then you guys are going to practice, and then you'll raise your vibration. And maybe when you're at 25% certainty that you could do it, I guarantee you something else will come into you or into her, and she'll go, well, I could also do this. All you need is forward momentum. All you need is for the vortex. You don't need to be already there. You don't need the little girl to come over to your house and go, okay, I'm going to beat you up. It doesn't need to happen that way. You just need to move the energy.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because I tried to, I went kind of in the galactic fifth dimension and like threw like a bunch of like energy change molecule.
Yeah.
And so we'll see if when she comes home tonight, if it helped or shifted, or I mean, I haven't been called from the school yet. Usually sometimes, when things like this go, I get called right away and say, they're in my office, we're dealing with it. I just want you to know, because she's probably going to come home and talk about it or cry about it or whatever.
Yes.
So I feel like I feel good. I've only got 1 hour left of school and then she's on the bus home. And,
So, so I was just thinking right now, can we go? So I know you want me to anyways, but can we go way, way, way out there right now?
Yeah.
Way off the planet, like way out there.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's go way off the planet. Let's take this earthly conversation, which is so helpful, and so many people miss it because they're like, I just want to do the metaphysical stuff that's just going to have me embody it, and then I don't have to worry about all these crazy people out in the world, blah, blah, blah. No, not okay. You still have to do the earthly stuff.
Right? I know, right?
That's why we're alive. We're alive. Okay, so first I'm going to start the conversation with, we're not here to ascend. We're here to descend. Okay, I'm going to say it again. Ascension is overrated. Most of the people that follow you are already feeling like it's much better out there. It's awesome.
Funny.
I'm like, I so feel more comfortable. I feel more alive. I feel safer. At some point, I'll give you a clue as to whether that's you. It doesn't mean it's everyone that's listening, by the way, and don't feel left out if this is not you. Okay, I'm talking to everyone. I'm not talking to just the special people. These are not special people either. We're all on a spectrum. But at some point, you might have looked up there and you might have said, "Please take me home." Take me back, like wherever I'm from, because I am not from here. This place is too cray-cray. People have forgotten that love should win. They've forgotten all the others. I'd just rather go back. Right? And so if you've ever had that thought, including the earthly thought, I would rather not be alive right now. And I find that definitely a lot of, not all of, but a lot of our clients feel that way. It's like, do I really have to be here anymore? It's doesn't mean you're feeling that way right now, but at some point in your life, you may have felt that way. I certainly did. So where does that question come from? So you're groovy with me going like way, way starseed culture, like way out there.
Yeah. No, you should have seen where we just were on the last call.
Good. So let's go way, way out there.
Very earthy.
Good. Well, I felt like it was being called to do something earthly. So it was a good idea. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
And remember, for all of our galactic friends, I also go way, way out there. And But the point of our existence right now is to take our feeling that we know that this life, this civilization, and this is the reason why we do our work. The dream I'm being lived by, the dream I am lived by, is the vision, which isn't a vision for me. It isn't something I envisioned. It's a future trajectory that millions of us know is possible, that lives because of the asking of millions of us. When there's a problem, a solution is immediately created in physics. It's immediate. You can't have a problem without a solution. So the bigger the problem, the more awesome the solution that awaits us. So the problem that I saw is that humanity doesn't understand. We don't even understand each other. We don't understand where we're coming from. We don't understand our fears. We don't understand each other's cultures. We don't understand each other's languages. And we don't have space for each other. We don't have space for each other to be. We're being run by safety issues. I need you to change for me to feel safe. That's never going to work because that's survival, and we're designed by our starseed engineers to thrive. So I'm going to tell a little galactic fairy tale. It's a fairy tale, really. It goes something like this. Once upon a time, there were 12 starseeds. There were cultures that hadn't been fully integrated with all of consciousness, but they did have the awareness that it was possible to integrate with the flow of all of consciousness, meaning the flow of all of creation, meaning that you could create at an exponential level and feel levels of love that weren't possible when you were separate. So things were happening on these planets and in these dimensions that were not so hot. Energies that were more opportunistic were being created, and space was being left for them. And so some perceptively non-fluid things were happening for these cultures. Let's say wars, or let's say being pulled upon. There was also one other entity. Let's call it a council of 12 in this beautiful, beautiful galactic fairy tale. Let's say there was a council of 12 civilizations. These 12 civilizations selected the most brilliant of each and took the most brilliant abilities. So the ability to communicate without needing voice and ears, the ability to, by the way, these are the 24 innate abilities that 12 years ago now, I channeled through my body when I realized the dream that was living me. And I knew that humanity needed to embody these abilities. So the things that I'm taught, this galactic fairy tale is what I'm telling you, because it's the very fairy tale that I was shown back then when I was given the codes for the original 24 innate abilities or superpowers that human beings have. So in this fairy tale, what I saw is that these starseeds, be they from Sirius, and like whales would be from Sirius, be they from the Pleiades, like dolphins, you get the essence of dolphin. Dolphin is like playful, also very extremely loving and not needing to communicate through voice, etc. They know what each other is doing because they pick up from sonar at a much deeper level, same as whales. Syrian energy. Syrian, big, blue, gorgeous, wise. We can go into Pashat energy, which is sort of that green-eyed, big mane of hair, very courageous, cannot stand it when things are unjust. So a lot of you who are right fighters have that starseed culture. Now imagine in this fairy tale, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, all of them got together and they said, let's engineer a civilization and a body that can live on that civilization that would embody all of the best of all of our cultures, all of these abilities of the best of our cultures. And let's imagine that what human beings consider junk DNA and some of the aspects of your corpus callosum that are underutilized are some of the genetics we were given by these starseed cultures. And let's imagine that these starseed cultures don't actually, they're creating. By definition, creating is you don't actually know what the future, by the way, Dennis, what I'm about to say, I know that nobody on the planet of Earth has said. It's coming. It's because it's what got revealed to us on this trip in flight school. So it's huge. So I'm telling the fairy tale with a different ending than I've ever told before. It's freaking huge. Okay? So imagine our engineers of this human body that had the ability in order to thrive, but haven't been thriving. We've been surviving. This is why. Now, when you talk to certain, not archaeologists, but let's say historians, archaeologists, historical biologists, all of these people, they can't really put together why humanoid bodies were here, and then they can't, like for 100,000 years, they can't find any bodies, and then a new body appears. You know, it goes from Neanderthal to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and eventually it ends up with us. And one might say, well, we're just evolutions, but they can't actually find, like, it's like we were put here and then we were taken off to be re-engineered. And then the next evolution of the body, and then we were taken off to be re-engineered. I've heard Greg Braden talk about this a lot. And then we were put on here, and then we were taken off to be re-engineered. And then we're in the current iteration. Here's what happens in the fairy tale. Are you with me on the engineering? Do you have any questions? Does this make sense to you? Do you have any questions for your audience that might be?
No, you guys have any questions? I think they're all with us.
Good.
Yeah.
So here's what happens in the next phase of the fairy tale. So imagine why we keep being taken off is because they keep upgrading us to be, like, they're being careful. They're being conscious in their creation. It's like, okay, we don't want to get too complex in their ability to connect to consciousness. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to make trees and rocks their gods. You know, that the essence of beingness is all in those things, so we can connect. Then no matter what culture you go to, including the Mayan culture that we were here to study, and the Incan culture, which we went to 3 months ago for the 5th time, and the Druid culture, which we studied in Ireland when we went there 3 times for, you know, the last many 10 years. What you find out when you go to different cultures, which are all starseed cultures, they were very connected to the land, very connected to the trees, very connected to they were connected to all of these things, and they got what they needed. The wisdom, the way to flow in harmony was all within nature, and they realized themselves as part of nature, not above it.
Wow.
Now, here's where it gets really friggin' interesting. Imagine 12 starseed cultures, plus a 13th that includes all the others that assisted in engineering humanity, engineering the body that could live in a body on a planet, that was designed to not only harmonize its 12 sets of DNA, its 12 sets of multidimensional DNA and 3-dimensional DNA from the starseeds. If we could harmonize within ourselves those 12 sets of DNA, correct, we would now be a living fractal of their civilizations. So if we could find balance and harmony within the reason we were born, we alone have done that. But
wow.
That's the big news. By the way, we're still in the old fairy tale I used to tell. I haven't even told you the big stuff yet.
Okay.
Now imagine I'm harmonizing with you. And you're harmonizing with all these people. Now I'm harmonizing with them, and they're harmonizing with each other. Imagine the exponential fractal effect on the degree of harmony for those 12 starseed cultures, plus the 13th part of the council that were other starseed cultures that wanted to contribute a certain kind of wisdom that those 12 didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
In a fractal universe, you've just changed the harmonic, the degree to which they can flow with all of consciousness instantly. So
Right.
when, certain people say human beings are a living library, we're not only a living library, we're a living fractal of other dimensions and other cultures, and we're causing the embodiment of light to go to an entirely, or flow to go to an entirely other level. This is what is meant by heaven on earth. We're not ascending. No.
Right.
We wouldn't be put on the planet if we were ascending. We're descending. We're descending what's already known about what's possible for humanity into the human experience. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So the next piece of that, this is the stuff from this trip. So when geniuses get together that understand what I'm talking to you about, i.e. the geniuses that take our Flights Go program, we get to a place of embodiment where we can start talking at this level, and we start coming up with stuff that's like, just it doesn't happen in normal conversation ever.
Right.
And so what we saw about, or what came through me when I was with this beautiful group of people, is that one, our engineers didn't understand three things. There were three things they didn't understand in this iteration of human being, this iteration of the human body. They presumed that when something feels bad, we would get that it was a course correct. Our feelings are here to course correct us. They assumed we'd always want to go back to feeling good.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that a logical assumption?
Right. Like,
But,
we go to pleasure.
right.
Yeah.
And we're wired for more pleasure. But the problem is, Freud and Jung and all those guys said the way back to pleasure is to analyze your pain.
Not always, though. You don't
Not
have
always.
to go through pain, but that's how we've been taught, like, over trillions of years.
So even, the most genius people, physics doesn't work that way. It's good to have some freedom about your pain. Definitely looking at it a little bit. But there are all sorts of modalities that are focused on fixing the pain. But when you're focused on fixing the pain, you're putting all your attention on the pain.
Right.
So remember, the biggest question you can ask that aligns you with all of consciousness is what would love do? What is, even when you're doing access that you do,
yeah,
the question that should be guiding you is what would love do right now, not how do I fix this freaking problem, right? So it all depends on the energy with which you do it. But that's the first thing they didn't understand, is that we have free will, and most of us got really off track in analyzing the why. Why doesn't matter as much as what would love do.
Right.
Okay. The second thing we didn't understand. I'm going to write actually next year I'm going to do a whole course on this at the Omega Center. Like, I think this is so powerful. So powerful. Because if you can actually get yourself into the engineering of what they designed for us, it's like instant flow. Mm-hmm. It is really the embodiment. So that's one. The second thing is they assume.
So would you say science in one sentence? Because it's
number one is they assumed that we would use feelings, like bad feelings, to say, "Oh, I'm focused on the wrong thing. Like I need to get course correct and get back towards feeling good."
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to write it in one sentence in the comments.
So the second one is they assumed that we would recognize that it didn't occur to them that we would want to survive. like that we would stay, like it didn't occur to them that we would create an entity. Like they don't have survival. They don't understand survival, therefore they never anticipated it. These are all things they didn't anticipate, because when you're creating from nothing, and you don't know the future trajectory of the entity you created, right? You don't know where it's going to go. So when you throw in free will into the engineering of a human, it's like, I didn't know they were going to create that. And we created this idea that we could survive. We could forget that we're creator in human form. We were just created in their image as creators, right? So it's funny how in the Bible it says you're created in my image.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, we are. We're totally created in their image as creators, just like they created us, right? So kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, how could you? It was almost presumed in old iterations of our body, like a caveman, they're just making stuff to make life easier. They make a stick, they make a tool, they make a wheel, they make some fire. It's just like presumed.
Yeah.
We forgot, we in this iteration with this much free will and this much genius, we we forgot that we're creators. And if we would stay in creation mode, it would literally mostly feel good. Instead of survival mode, you're not creating in survival mode. You're not even looking to create anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even of interest. You're looking to survive, right? You're looking for someone else with the answers who's got the 10-step process to be able to just like, if I could just have enough money to pay for my home and retire and this and that, and my daughter could be happy and this and that, then woohoo, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
You with me?
Yeah.
So they didn't anticipate that. The last one is they didn't anticipate that human beings' power. They didn't anticipate that there would be kind of like a war on the power that we had, so that other people would perceptively try to take our power away. Some people say, they talk about Anunnaki, they talk about other other beings from other places, but let's just worry about what's on the planet right now instead of getting too caught up in. I mean, that's interesting to understand, but who cares? Right now we've got human beings who've been, some people would say, crossbred in our galactic fairy tale with energy, with, let's say, operating systems from other places that are very much about, I'm going to mine all the power from other human beings. I have an interest in keeping you from remembering that you're a creator.
Uh-huh.
And that all of that you have is your feelings. You see it in politics all the time.
Yeah, and we call them techies. It's like, it's really kind of narcissistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So you've got these beings that have. Now the cool thing is, okay. So now listen. This is the most important thing I'm going to say. The biggest picture, most important thing I'm going to say in this whole Facebook Live. Remembering that you're a creator means that when you combine answering the question, what would love do, with remembering that I'm a creator, that's why being in survival feels so much like shit. Because remember the third thing, which is about feelings. I'm swearing. See, now you're seeing the real me come out. I love swearing. So good. So anyways, when you're, I apologize to anyone who wasn't expecting that. But anyways, if you knew me, you would be. So when you're in this place where you remember you're a creator, that's number one. Second of all, you let your feelings guide you, and if anything is off, you redirect, course correct, right? Remember that, number two. And then you use your creativity and what feels most expansive to take you out of survival into thriving. And, I'm saying this very trite. We've set up I've set up my entire business to answer this question, right? It's like everything we do is about this. So don't think that, but getting the concept is going to put you in the energy of it, which is going to give you some answers that maybe you hadn't been getting before. That's the most important thing of me saying this. Don't expect yourself to get this just from me saying it, but you'll start getting it, it'll start moving some energy. And that's what's important right now. So this being who's only interested in creating, following the thread of what feels the best, whilst being more interested in thriving than surviving, would actually, the more you be yourself, the more you become the embodiment of the bridge to being that way. You be a whole and complete human, which is how they designed us. If every human being would remember this and get into this mode of operating, what would happen is we would all emanate the bridges for everybody to be able to do it. In other words, out of our sender receiver satellite dishes in every one of our 75 trillion cells, we would be emanating the photon patterns of light that tell everyone how to build bridges back to who we really are. And it would also cause an upgrade to the people who've forgotten that are trying to get their power by taking power from us. Eventually, over a couple of lifetimes, they would be born into new bodies that would no longer have the ability to take power away from someone else. Because through living that way, we're telling consciousness we're more interested in living the way I just said, through our actions, words, and deeds, than we are in having our power taken away. Right now, there are so many people giving their power away to political figures, which is a shame. And it doesn't take fighting them, because the more you resist, the more it persists. Going against something is more survival. Find a third entity. Remember, so this is where we get to full circle, all the way back to the beginning, Jenna. Remember I said the third entity? Find a third entity that everyone can be enrolled in, no matter where. Most people, let's say 80% of people, some people are so positional, they're not even, it doesn't even matter, you can't even talk to them. But find something that would interest most people. Like, are you interested in more harmony on this planet? Are you interested in our kids not going to school scared? Are you interested, you see what I mean? Right. Like there's hardly anyone that would be upset with that vision.
Right.
Now we're full circling the original thing, the earthly part. We just talked about the galactic part. Now we're bringing it to Earth. How do you do that? Third entity vision for your own life. Let your life be the answer to what would love do. You now carry the physics. You are now a walking bridge with all the answers coming out of you that people witness through the way that you live your life. And the atmosphere of the entire physics of humanity. We're way past the crystalline grid system now. We're moving. That's like old news.
Right.
About upgrading and upgrading and upgrading by living out the real life example of what our engineers put together, such that we could be a living fractal of what's possible for all of their civilizations as well, thereby upgrading like the entire universe of everyone that was originally involved. And by the way, this does not replace God. God is a whole different concept. These are just engineers that created our bodies that could be conduits for the essence of a soul. That's all. They all were inspired by what someone would call creator or God. So that is the whole circle of the whole thing.
I'm going to make sure that I interview you like right after you've come off these retreats.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see what happens on the next retreat. I'm like, I don't know, that was so good.
So, the one thing that I find interesting that I've kind of been playing with is, we're on a planet here and we only have a lifespan of like 90, 100 years. Sometimes people can make it to 110.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other people that have bigger visions than that. And but it's like, it seems that there's a control system among us that's keeping our lifespan so short. Like, why not be able?
We talked about that while we were talking, because that actually came up as an obvious. So
right.
So the book that I'm writing right now is about this.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. It's literally about this, and that is it. That is the question that I'm in right now as I'm writing. I'm like, we got to get to the bridge for that. Like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant that you thought about that, because yes, it's like, yeah, that's like.
Right, because it's sort of like, and then you recycle and you don't remember anything.
Yeah.
When we come back into this world,
Yeah.
you kind of have a little bit, you're trying to have these remembrances,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
It's what the heck? You know?
Right? Like why would there be a control
Come
system
on.
to forget? So
Yeah.
here's one of the things in the mechanism in our engineering. What they'll do, so before what would happen is one of the reasons all this stuff is coming to the forefront is because 20 years ago you had to die first to be upgraded to get the body that would upgrade to the superpowers. In the iteration in the last 20 years, we've all been born, and keep remembering everything gets faster. So one of the superpowers we have that we talk about in innate abilities is the ability to create new abilities. So as we create new abilities, our ability to evolve and the technology to evolve and awaken, which is what I'm interested in, that's the piece of the puzzle I am, is to stay ahead of the technologies that are being created by all of us because of our asking that keep us on the leading edge of consciousness, right? And so as I witnessed these new technologies being born, one of the technologies was the ability to be upgraded without the need to die. So we don't need to die to get a new body. And you know that. Okay, so how you know that, by the way?
I do know that.
Yeah.
Well, I also know that I'm a walk-in, right?
But here's the thing. These days, it's starting to get that the majority of us are starting to be,
yeah.
That's part of it. That's why you're seeing so many people saying they're a walk-in. You're seeing so many people because you upgrade this physicality to embody new energies, and new energies walk in. But it's actually just, it's a marriage. It's more of a marriage of the old and the new rather than just straight pure walk-in. I've only seen a couple of people be pure walk-ins, like Bill Linville or, some of these people, they're pure walk-ins. Others are more they still have a little bit of what was before, but mostly they had to do that in order to bridge into their new reality, or it would be too shocking, right? So remember that how every single one of our clients, Janet, every one of them says it. Like when I say, wait a second, let me ask you a question, and I can ask you the same question. Do you feel like you want to write a new chapter to the old book of your life, or do you want to write a new book?
Yeah, no, it's a totally new book. Except for now. I mean, now I'm kind of like, but now I've already done the start the new book.
But I promise you, there's going to be in future iterations of humanity, there's going to be new book, and we're going to. And that's where we want to live. Who the hell wants to live past 100 when most people are miserable? See, it's when we start loving our life, right?
Yeah, we're in a world where everyone's miserable.
So know that it isn't till we all embody what I'm talking about that the possibility of even, you see what I mean?
Love it.
Full circle. Oh yeah, I love that.
I love it. Oh,
so
wow.
So yummy. Yummy.
Yeah. So real quick, because I am this call was only supposed to be an hour, and I didn't take a break last session.
That's good, because I only have 4% left on my computer.
Oh, okay. Can you talk about what you put in the box that we asked you to put a little something in?
Yes, one of the things to change your biochemistry and make sure that there's two things, but the big thing is it's really about building a brain bridge. Earlier I talked about the corpus callosum. So one of the technologies that I brought through is called a brain bridge. See, our brains aren't supposed to be left brain, logical, right brain, creative. Our brain is supposed to live in the corpus callosum, where there's no like thinking and doing. Then I'll go over here and be creative and connect into my intuition and my meditations. It's supposed to be both at once. That's how you know you're embodying yourself. that's how life gets smooth and easy, and you stop needing to meditate so much. You become the breathing, living meditation. So these three are 3 of 12. They're 3 of 12 brain bridges about specific parts of life, abundance, your health, etc., that cause your corpus callosum to be activated in this new operating system, so that you can now live in that fully integrated space. There's, like I said, the first 3 of 12. We just wanted to get people a sense of what's that like, and what that will allow them is then, we have a little School of Unlimited Life aspect that's like the next phase that is also free. So it's all free. It's like we're giving it away so that people can start to upgrade.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah. So you guys, all the products we did get written up on the BlissBox. It's the link is bossbox.it/bliss/box, and we'll probably talk about it in a couple calls next week, and then we'll close the box. And I'm trying to get a few more items in the box too. But everybody who buys box now, you'll get the items too. Cool. So thank you, Jennifer. I know your computer's dying, and
it's perfect. It's perfect. And I'm glad so many people said they're more interested in the new book rather than the new chapter. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Of course we would be.
And of course,
it's not just time to upgrade the reality. It's time for a whole new reality.
That's what I'm talking about. Screw them. Screw the new.
Speaking your language.
Yeah, I know you are. That's why I know. That's why I love you. You're awesome. So I'm at 1%. Isn't it perfect? I'm going to say goodbye.
Sounds good. I'll talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Love to everyone. Bye.
Bye. Okay, you guys. Well, this is a wrap. Wow. Thank you guys for being on these calls, for being the contribution. I'm going to have calls next week, just a couple. And then I'll probably come live a couple more days. And then we are going together craft what we want to play with. I like to kind of play with the audience and see how you'd like to play with me, playing around with doing a conscious parenting podcast, maybe conscious relationships, conscious coupling kind of thing. So there looks like there's going to be a podcast in my future that's going to be me and maybe a few other people instead of guests. And then we're going to do another box come late January, by the way. It's going to be about embodiment. So if you liked this in this format, I don't know if we'll do it on Facebook or might go back to the phone even. But you'll still be able to ask questions. It'll still be live. So I want you guys to know that I will be asking you questions, getting your feedback, and hopefully crafting this in a way that you guys really want to play and it's really fun for you. So with that being said, I will let you know over the weekend. Oh, by the way, the VIP pass, which is all 25 interviews, you got one last day for it at the $47 mark. So if you want to get that. Let me put up the link real quick. Just so for those people, basically the only difference is this one says VIP instead of box. So if you want the VIP pass, which is $47, then you can go ahead and grab that. If you want the entire box, it's $197. And that price will remain the same throughout the promotion, but we are going to close down the box. You will only have a limited time to get it. I'm still looking for other bonuses and beautiful things to add to it. And I will probably do a whole new course around it. Caroline, I won't do it on Zoom. I had some problems with Zoom when we got to a big amount. So it won't be on the Zoom platform. So it would probably not be video. And that's why I chose this platform. But Caroline, thank you for playing in this way. There might be a way that we can do an audio call and have like a commenting feed. So we'll see, but Zoom is out. It got too big and it just was not working. We got over 1,000 on one call at one point and everything just broke down. So, however, you know, not everyone's showing up for these either. So I'd rather have people showing up at least. So, but thank you for everyone who participated. I really want to do this live, so I had people playing and really, you know, and I knew everyone wasn't going to make every call, but I really like to play with the audience, and it's really nice to just be here and look at the guest, and you know, there's just a totally different very raw vibe with it. So much love to you. I will be back. I will do a live on Monday just to kind of say what's happened after the shift and what's possible. It'll probably be right about noon or 1 o'clock Eastern time. Just to kind of, you know, I just want to recap and play and just keep playing. Let's just keep playing. Let's see. Does the box have all the interviews? No, the box doesn't have the interviews. We separated the two. This is the first time I even had a box, right? Everything went to a special offer. You could either get the interviews or the special offer. And I was like, you know, we're going to try it. We're going to try it and see. So far, the comments have been like, wow, I got the box and wow. And I'm so glad I got the box, you know. So the interviews will come down on Tuesday in entirety. So, you know, you've had 24 hours for each day. There will probably be some extra bonuses that'll open up over the weekend, and then the entire box, the entire videos to watch online will go away. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And with that being said, I'm going to enjoy my Friday. Happy hour to you. And I will connect with you on Monday. Mwah. Bye, everyone.